Robert Chen visited his son's grave on what would have been his graduation day, 3 years after the tragic accident. Week after week, he discovered mysterious notes saying, "I'm sorry," left by a thin, exhausted teenage girl in worn clothes. When he finally confronted her at dawn, the truth behind her visits left the billionaire completely shattered. The cemetery was silent as Robert Chen walked along the path lined with ancient oak trees. Their shadows danced across the rows of headstones, a stark reminder of lives cut short. Robert's steps were measured, deliberate, his expensive shoes crushing the fallen leaves beneath him. His face remained expressionless, but his eyes betrayed the storm of emotions within. Today would have been Jason's graduation day. His son would have stood proud in cap and gown, diploma in hand, ready to take on the world. Instead, Robert was making his monthly pilgrimage to a cold marble headstone. 3 years had passed since the rainy night when police officers appeared at his door. 3 years since his world collapsed with 4 simple words. Jason didn't make it. The car accident had claimed his only child, leaving Robert with nothing but memories and regrets. As he approached the familiar grave, something caught his attention. A figure knelt before Jason's headstone. Small, hunched, definitely not someone he recognized. It was a teenage girl in worn clothes, her thin frame suggesting hardship beyond her years. Robert paused, uncertain whether to approach or wait. Before he could decide, the girl placed something small and white under one of the rocks near his fresh flowers. She stood quickly, as if sensing his presence, and hurried away without looking back. Curiosity pulled Robert forward. He knelt where the girl had been moments before and carefully moved the rock. Beneath it lay a small folded paper. He opened it with hesitant fingers, unsure what to expect. Written in careful handwriting were just 3 words. "I'm sorry." Robert looked up, scanning the cemetery, but the mysterious visitor had vanished between the rows of graves. What did she have to be sorry for? Why visit Jason's grave? His tech empire had made him paranoid about strangers, but something about this felt different, not threatening, just puzzling. The next week, Robert returned with fresh flowers. He noticed immediately that someone had cleared away the withered blooms from his previous visit. And there, under the same rock, was another identical note. This pattern continued. Every week, a fresh note. Every week, the same 3 words. Robert began arriving earlier each time, hoping to encounter the mysterious visitor, but somehow she always managed to come and go undetected. After a month of this strange ritual, Robert's curiosity evolved into determination. If she wouldn't speak to him directly, he would find another way. His security team offered to set up surveillance, but Robert refused. This was personal, something between him, his son's memory, and this unknown girl with her cryptic messages. On a cool Friday morning, Robert arrived at the cemetery before dawn. He parked his car further away than usual and walked the familiar path in darkness. Instead of approaching Jason's grave directly, he concealed himself behind a nearby family monument, large enough to hide his tall frame, but with a clear view of his son's final resting place. Hours passed. The sun rose, casting long shadows across the grounds. Robert remained still, his patience forged through years of high-stakes business negotiations. Finally, just as he was considering giving up, he saw her. She approached cautiously, looking around before kneeling at Jason's grave. In the clear morning light, Robert could see her clearly for the first time. She was thin, too thin, with dark circles under her eyes. Her clothes were clean but worn at the edges, her backpack faded and patched in several places. She couldn't be more than 16. The girl knelt before the headstone, whispering words Robert couldn't hear. She traced the engraved letters of Jason's name with gentle fingers before placing her note under the rock, the same ritual she had performed for weeks. As she rose to leave, Robert stepped out from his hiding place. The girl startled, her body tensing like a cornered animal preparing to flee. She turned to run, but Robert called out, "Please, wait." The fear in her eyes was unmistakable, but something made her stop, perhaps the gentleness in his voice or the grief they seemed to share. She stood frozen, her hands clutching the straps of her backpack. Robert kept his distance, sensing her caution. He simply wanted to understand why she left these notes at his son's grave. The question hung between them. In response, the girl's eyes filled with tears. Her voice was barely audible when she finally spoke. She explained that she was in the other car from that rainy night. Robert froze. The police report had mentioned another vehicle involved in the accident, a family car. He'd been so consumed by his own loss that he'd never followed up on what happened to them. His lawyers had handled everything, settling claims and legal matters without his direct involvement. The girl continued her story, each word heavy with pain. She and her parents were driving home that night after her school dance performance. The rain was pouring down, making visibility poor. A truck ahead of them swerved suddenly, causing chaos. Jason's car had been coming from the opposite direction. Her voice trembled as she described the collision. Her parents died instantly in the front seats. She survived only because she was sitting in the back. Emergency workers had to cut her free from the wreckage. The girl, Ellie was her name, she told him when he asked, had seen Robert from a distance at the cemetery. The funerals were held on the same day, different sections of the same grounds. She had noticed him standing alone as they lowered Jason's casket. After spending 2 years being shuffled through the foster care system, Ellie had aged out with nowhere to go. But through it all, she continued her weekly visits to Jason's grave. Sometimes she visited her parents first, sometimes after, but she never missed coming to Jason's resting place. Robert stood silent, struggling to process what he was hearing. Then Ellie said something that pierced through his defenses completely. She looked down at the grave and admitted her deepest fear, that if she hadn't forced her parents to come watch her school dance that night, they would all still be alive. Jason would still be alive. Everything that happened was her fault. Robert's carefully maintained composure crumbled. For 3 years, he had directed his grief inward, building higher walls around himself, drowning in work, avoiding connections. He had blamed the rain, the truck driver, even his own decision to let Jason take the car that night, but never this unknown girl who had suffered just as much. While he had retreated to his mansion, directing his team of lawyers to settle accident claims without his involvement, this child who had lost everything still found the strength to seek forgiveness for something that was never her fault. Tears streamed down Robert's face as the full weight of what Ellie had endured hit him. This girl had lost her parents, her home, her future, everything, in the same accident that took his son. Yet here she was, still carrying a burden of guilt that wasn't hers to bear. Robert extended his hand to Ellie. Through his tears, he told her that he thought they both had been carrying this alone for too long. The accident wasn't her fault. It wasn't anyone's fault. Just a terrible tragedy that had connected their lives in the most painful way possible. As they sat together by Jason's grave, Robert realized something profound. Perhaps healing could begin for both of them, not from forgetting the past, but from finding a way forward together. In this girl who had suffered so much, Robert saw a chance for both of them to emerge from the shadows of grief. Ellie hesitantly took his hand, her own tears falling freely now. For the first time in 3 years, Robert felt something break loose inside him. Not the sharp pain of loss, but the first fragile tendrils of connection. Have you ever wondered how two strangers, united by tragedy, might find healing in each other's stories when they finally have the courage to share them?